And this is Arrows and Acres, a podcast for families building something that lasts, with Daniel and Allison Hartman.
Yeah. We're raising up arrows, we're working the land, a husband, a wife, and a God-given plan. And no shortcuts, we're doing this right. Building a family that shines in the night. Arrows and acres, faith, family, home. You were never meant to do this alone. Arrows and acres, let's build something real. Welcome to the show. Let's go.
Welcome back to our podcast, Arrows and Acres. We're the Hartmans. I'm Allison, and this is Daniel. We're super happy you're joining us today. Got one of my favorite topics. Tell us what it is.
You are going to be talking about how you are raising contributors, not takers, how you build high producers who know what to do that most people can't. So why don't we kick it off with just diagnosing and talking about where the current generation is at.
Yeah.
Are they producers?
Right.
Or are they takers? What are we seeing in today's culture?
Yeah, sadly, one of the advantages I think we have, even though we are a homeschooling family, is our business is photography. And primarily we do school pictures. So we are in about 70 schools a year. So we're seeing about 40,000 young people. And so I feel like we have a pretty good snapshot of what this culture is creating when it comes to young people. And unfortunately, and just to throw it out there, I'm not seeing a difference between private Christian schools, private schools, and public schools. So this is no knock. We do homeschool pictures. I'm not seeing a difference in homeschoolers versus public schoolers versus private schoolers. So this isn't a knock on where your child goes to school. This is a systemic problem in our culture of parents just not expecting a whole lot, allowing their children to be consumers, to be takers, to be served instead of being producers, to be serving. And so if we're not careful to be intentional with this, our children are going to just be the same. So our goal is to raise that bar super high, not out of the fact that we're going to be disappointed if they don't reach it, but we've got to raise the bar. Where it's at right now, I don't even know if the bar comes off the ground in most families. Their children are literally not able to even do the normal things. You think back in the olden days when children were super capable. If dad needed help changing a tire, he grabbed his younger son. They changed the tire. Nowadays, I'm afraid many, even teenage boys, wouldn't even know where to begin. And so there's a huge responsibility on us parents. And so that's what I want to challenge our audience, not just to stay with the status quo, but to really raise the bar in their home. And so we're going to give practical tips on how to do that.
So as we're talking about seeing really what's going on in culture and society, what we're talking about basically is parents doing things for their children and showing up. Just think about education. For example, is reading, writing, arithmetic. Everybody needs to know these things, but the production of that's just the basis of what we need to know. But what about everything that we do, everything that we need? Everything from building a foundation. Just think about building a house. All the trades that go into that process, forming concrete, nailing 2x4s together, running the electrical, running the plumbing, running the coax cables, the Cat 5 cables, putting it all together, sheetrock work. All of these things. For example, our son Ethan just built his own house. He either figured it out on his own or has asked, but he did it. Like he built a tiny house debt free. And that
And
may
you've never stopped and shown him how to build a tiny house.
yeah, it's just
He's just been learning his whole life how to pick up
yeah,
on.
it's just more of this uh like there's nothing I can't do. There's nothing that if I put my mind to it that I'm not going to be able to make this work. Now it may not exactly be perfect, but I can promise you I can figure it out because what are we doing? What are we going to school for? But to learn how to learn and to learn how to do the HVAC work or learn how to put a roof on. Again, let's go to all the components of the car. I could go on and on and on. And the idea is life uses all these items. And when we pay other people to do these things, that's 80, $100 an hour out of your pocket that you're not going to ever see again. And when your children are sitting there, 50% of these children in this culture have these cell phones, and as we're talking, 13 to 18 spend over 8.5 hours on their cell phone. That time could be spent in learning a trade, learning how to repair the sheetrock, or learning how to paint the house, learning how to build a tree fort or build a pond or run a piece of equipment. Just start their own business. Let's go there. Let's create a source of income. Just some of the businesses that our children run. Obviously, we do photography. McKenna's teaching swim lessons. Ethan's building fences. Just built his own house. Cedar and Vision are redoing bathrooms and building. He just built a tiny house. When he got married, Vision's buying a house, and they're Lord willing going to pay cash for it, fix it up, and live in it. And he's going to do this all himself, all themselves.
Asher's selling honey.
Asher's selling honey,
The
and
3 older girls
and
have.
he's putting Josiah's roof on with him
Mhm.
right now, and framing and doing concrete work. And so
They're
we're
all able to help each
so we're
other.
not filling their time up with the screen time. We're filling their time up with productive skills asset columns, not the takers.
Mm.
They're in the asset column of culture, and those are the people they're going to give. They're going to be the people that lead at a very young age. We start our children doing sales. We sell little coupon books or whatever we can need to get them out, and we're standing right by them, or their siblings are standing there right by them.
Mistletoe.
Yeah, let's dial in on what it is your children have actually built, what they're actually capable of, because I think what the audience needs to understand is that yes, we have a culture and a generation of consumers and not producers, and your children, what it is they're actually building, what they're capable of, and this isn't about boasting. This is just about, are you producing producers? Are you creating producers? You talked about some of your sons and older children. What are your children also capable of within the home?
Well, I'll just go on another jag, and then you take over. Asher, for example, can like do a backflip, just standing backflip, and he was trying to do a double backflip on the trampoline. And I had called him in, and he said, "I'm gonna do it one more time." Didn't listen to me, and wound up severely hurting himself, and was out for 6 months. And I'm like, "Okay, Asher, that was dumb. You should have come when I called." But guess what? You now have the ability to learn how to play the guitar.
Mhm.
And I think I even said that or something of that. You're going to have a lot of time. You're going to shift into working out and volleyball, and so learn how to play the guitar. And I kid you not, that wasn't but a year ago, and he's leading worship in our home church.
Mhm.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. So and again, it's just this idea that we have built in, uh having constraints on our children. when we really should have no constraints on our children. They could do anything that they
And
put their
and
mind
most
to.
people, if they would have been laid up like that, they would have gave them a device.
Sure.
They would have, the normal Christian church family they would have been like, well, what else can I do? I've got to give them
Right.
digital phone. I got to give them these things and that.
Right.
We have to entertain you. You can't walk around the house. I'm like, nope, here's a guitar.
But and it starts now that we have a full circle of children. So we have a little one still at home, 7 still at home, and then we have 4 marrieds. I'm able to see how you start with one little thing, teaching them chores, but that it ends up where when they're married, they're debt free because they were able to do everything themselves for the wedding, for their home, for their new spouse, for their job. So it just all builds upon each other. And so starting from when they're little, I have a saying that if I only do what only I can do. So what does that mean? Am I the only person in my home that can make my bed? No, there's many that are capable. So I start with the youngest, teach them how to make a bed. Boom, done. I can use my time on something else, but they're learning how to make a bed. Maybe at age 2.5, 3, I'll start teaching them this, making little things for food. You can teach a 4-year-old how to scramble eggs. They can provide breakfast for the family at 4 or 5. That same 4 or 5-year-old can do the dishes. They can do it well without flooding your kitchen. However, your your priorities have to shift. I am more concerned about my child learning how to make breakfast and teach them how to do things like that than I am having a perfectly spotless kitchen. I think both are important. I think you've got to teach them to do things well, but I think you've got to choose your battles.
Yeah.
If you've got a 4-year-old sitting there trying to wash dishes, you verbally affirm them, you tell them they're doing a great job. By the time they're a little older, you say, stop flooding the kitchen. Let's keep the water in the sink. There's not a household chore that any of my children can't do. Probably by the time they're 10, they should be able to swap laundry, do dishes, make food, help take care of children. We're training adults. We're raising adults. If they want to eventually be mamas and daddies, how can they do that if they've only taught how to be a child? So that doesn't mean they're going to be stuck doing all the housework, doing all the diaper changing. No, you're doing it alongside of them, but you're giving them those big people jobs so that they can say, I can actually do it. And it's amazing how much more capable children are than we give them credit. But you'd ask, like, what are they capable of doing? So we started a farmer's market because our children wanted to sell things. So one of the biggest tools we've taught them is how to sell things. Because if you know how to sell something, you can almost have any type of business. You can peddle lemonade around the neighborhood. You peddle mistletoe during Christmas time. We go up in trees, get the mistletoe, put bows around it, and we sell it in front of a couple stores that we're allowed to in our town.
But the purpose of that is that their whole life they're going to be selling. And what is that but a communicator? And confidence in the reality of communicating with adults is the idea that we're going for, and becoming well-rounded communicators that can, in any group setting, operate well. Look people in the eyes, and they have to. And when they're younger and it's in a safe setting, their cuteness factor, people are astounded by a little 4 or 5-year-old that can sell them a piece of mistletoe, and they're just like, whoa, this is incredible. And we get tremendous feedback. And I know we're going to get haters and all this stuff from even saying this, but that cuteness factor, they able to use that and then act like an adult and not act like a 5-year-old. They're expected to act like an adult their whole life.
One of the biggest criticisms of homeschoolers is that they're awkward, they're not socially comfortable around
capable.
people. They can't look people in the eyes, shake their hands. When you teach them how to sell and they're dealing with the general public, that goes away. You can really, even the most naturally awkward child, you can really get that to minimize by teaching them how to sell things. And so that is one thing that we've really, whether it's like he said, coupon books, we do the little coupon books fundraiser that's in our town. We get the books, we let them go door to door. Now, it's not like when we grew up, so you can't just let them go roam around the neighborhood. We'll go with them, stand at the bottom of the person's driveway, watch them go up, make sure they're not getting kidnapped. We want to keep them safe, but we also want them to have that ability to talk to an adult, deal with objections. One of the best jobs I had was straight out of college. I worked for a company called Thomas Nelson, which is a Bible publishing company. So I sold books door to door. Those annoying book salesmen that come knock on your doors, that was me. And I ended up being the #1 salesman that summer. The thing that I learned was dealing with objections, because adults will lie to you. Oh, no, I can't buy from you. I don't have any money. They're lying. Well, I'll have to talk to my husband. No, they're lying. And so you have to learn, how do you deal with objections and not just say, okay, no problem. You have to say, well, can I ask you this? What if I maybe showed it to you first? Could I go ahead and so learning how to be confident in your product. So all those things are super important. That's why we started the farmers market, so they'd be able to. Our 12-year-old sells kefir. So when I say sells kefir, she keeps the kefir fermented. She does the straining every day. She does the jarring of the kefir. She jars it, puts it in the jars. She packages up the kefir grains. She buys the dry ice to ship it. She creates the labels in Canva. And I'm telling you, she does it by herself. Now, my job is to set her up for success. My job is to do the things that she can't do. I am not going to give her, as we learned in the last episode, I'm not going to give her
Well,
a smartphone.
she decided she was going to write a cookbook.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, how old are you? And she's putting together his cookbook, like
Well,
she's
so
writing her book.
because she
And
cooks for our family and she's
and
gathered up all this. But what I was going to say is, I'm not going to just hand her my smartphone and walk away. I'm going to, again, parents, you have to sometimes do the inconvenient things. When you want to create these producers, it doesn't just come easily. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's hard work. And so a lot of parents, are they willing to do the hard work it takes? It's a lot easier to just hand them a device and say, figure it out. Or better yet, which is the era I grew up in, just give it to me. I'll just do it for you.
the best thing that a salesman can be told is no,
Mhm.
and overcome objections.
Yeah.
And it's such a character building process. And you're like, well, how can your child like be told no? And because well, number one, they have an incentive. It's a very low overhead. If they make mistakes, it's not your family's going to be out on the street. I mean, wouldn't that be a better time to learn than when your family's going to be out on the street because you're not operating, and you're incapable of operating in the normal world. So we set up these scenarios where our children are able to be told no, and then we teach them and how to overcome objections, not to take it personally, to run the numbers, like when they're sitting there at the booth at the market. If they sit there and they aren't like aggressive, they're gonna sell nothing. I don't care what their product is. But if they're outgoing and they're like, well, can I give you a free sample? Can you what do you think about this? Or just a hey, hello.
Engaging with the
They're
audience.
they're
Yes.
instantly they instantly are taught, even without any schooling at all,
Right.
on sales skills and how to present themselves in front of people. And I tell you, you can look it up yourself. Don't take my word for it. If you're good in sales, you're not going to go hungry.
Right. I want to do this. We've kind of hit on this, but I really want to dial in on this segment aspect. We've talked about what your children have actually built. You've actually just segued right into family economy, but let's talk about rare skills and building what the market desperately needs. And I'll set it up with this quote. Mike Rose says this. He says, "The trades are not a fallback for people who couldn't go to college. They are a calling for people to build the world everyone else lives in." And right now we have a generation that doesn't know how to do basic critical things.
That's right.
No common sense.
No common sense.
And what does that look like? It just simply looks like walking through life, operating in life, and overcoming objections. It could be your piece of equipment not working properly. You have to troubleshoot. Okay, is it the batteries? Is it the communication? Is it is what is wrong? Why, your car, why isn't it running? Okay, we're out in the middle of the desert or on a big trip. Why is it not running? Okay, let's figure out what's going on. It can be a piece of machinery, say you're pressure washing for a living, or you have a lawnmower that you're using. A good man is never stuck. The man who can simply have the common sense to just calmly in a stressful environment, just think through and have patience, you're going to simply be back to work and producing just like that.
Yeah.
And you learn very quickly redundancy. If you're making a living, you need to have a double up of everything. I mean, all these things go into play.
Something practical that I've always tried to do is when things break, and they do, I'm always asking if Daniel's fixing it because he's an engineer. He can fix anything. He can build anything. I always have him have a tag along because that's immediate training that you're not having to carve time out of your day to do it. So anytime you're doing anything from making a phone call to customer service, hey, child, come sit by me. I want you to listen to mommy figure out how to solve a problem. My power got shut off. Come sit and watch me. I'm going to call the power company instead of shoo, I'm on the phone, go away. Everything we do, every time we solve a problem, we need to let that be a teaching tool moment for our children. And what you'll find is all of a sudden, they're solving all their own problems. Probably the thing I say the most when my children come to me with, hey, this broke or this isn't working or what, solve your problem. Solve your problem. I am not going to solve it for you. Sometimes I'm just busy. Sometimes I don't know how to fix it. But most of the time, I literally want to see if they can work through, solve their problem. I am seeing, because we work with the general public, I see these seniors come in for their senior portraits. Seniors, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, come in. Their mama's right there. Guess what she's doing? She's filling out their paperwork. She's deciding what photo they're wanting. And guess what the senior's doing? Scrolling. What's your grade? I don't know. What's your name? I don't know.
And that's not totally true because we do have some that just come in, they show up by themselves and they get it done. So
but the majority, they're having their, another thing I just started recently doing is,
and there's nothing wrong with parents wanting to experience life with their child, but don't fill the form out for them. That's
even hold on one second. Even in the dentist office recently, we go to the dentist a lot. But anyway, I've been handing
how many children do we have?
To my children, and I'll sit there with them, but I'll have them sit there and fill it out. And they're practicing handwriting. Yeah. They're answering questions. They're problem solving. Mom, what is our insurance? What is my Social Security number? all these things. You're missing many moments of teaching if you're not allowing them to do things themselves.
So I'll read this University of Michigan study, 25-year study. It says adults who did household chores from an early age show significant higher career success, stronger work ethic, and greater self-sufficiency than those who did not. Early contribution is one of the most consistent predictors of adult competence. So that's just okay. That's a little study, but I mean we're showing you the application of that, and our purpose is just simply, if could just set a standard, is at 13 to have my child completely an adult, totally competent, and I say that from a young age. If there's a bar mitzvah that's 13, that in the Jewish culture that says you're an adult, you're an adult, and it takes really about 18 to be able to run their business, be totally competent in everything they're doing, sales skills and all this stuff. But by 18, and what am I saying here? I'm saying that we're having a awesome, fun time in deleting adolescence, in this sowing your oats and learning, making all, like, going out with your friends and let's go. They need to go drink. They need to go smoke. They need to go the movie theaters. They need to experience, all these premarital type settings. And no, they don't. Those settings are highly destructive, and
And they're not missing out
there's nothing they're missing out of destroying of
practicing adulthood.
of
And
sinning.
it doesn't mean that we're deleting their childhood. So there's a difference. You can definitely let your children be children. My 14-year-old, I
But
love
they're
it.
not
She
being
doesn't
a
have this.
child by sitting on their phone for
No.
9 hours a day, 8-9 hours a day.
Let them go
That
play.
is
Let
that
them
is
play in the
not.
dirt. Let them get dirty. Let them just be boys and have fun. Let them dress up and play with baby dolls. Not stick a screen in front of their faces, and it's just there's no productivity to it. We have a thing that we teach a lot at our family camp, which is coming up soon, and it's 3 times a year. And it's explaining to parents that there are generally 4 different types of workers. And us as parents, we need to be aware of it, but then we also need to train accordingly. So we generally have your number one worker is your leader. It's your boss. It's the one that walks in a room and immediately sees that what needs to be done. Thankfully, that is definitely, I would put myself in that category. I will walk in a room and I'll immediately see the things that need to be done and either do them or delegate them. Then you have your number 2 worker, which is going to be your amazing right-hand man. They're going to be your secretary. They're going to be faithful. They're going to do exactly what you say. Either one of those children, I'm happy with. Not everybody is bent towards being self-employed and being the boss. Some are saying, I will be the best employee ever. That's great. The number 3 and number 4 workers are really what you have to look out for. The number 3 are the ones, if you can find them, they will work and they will do what you tell them to do, but you got to find them. They will evade, they will leave, run from work. They're always not feeling good, or they're always too busy. Generally, they also have friends that are like that as well, so they're pulling them down. That's something you have to watch for. If you have this type of child, you have got to be more consistent with them. You have to create jobs and then do the hard thing of finding out if it gets done. You can't be lazy and just give them a job, assuming it gets done, because a lot of times they'll say, got it, Mom, I'll do it, but they don't follow through. Right. And that is destructive. You're teaching them to be dishonest. You're teaching them to be lazy. And then, of course, the number 4 worker are the guys on the side of the road begging for a beer. They never learned how to work. They don't want to work. They would much rather you hand it to them. If you have that type of worker, they're the ones that are sitting on the couch on their phones while you're slaving in the kitchen. And sadly, I see this more than not. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut when I'm seeing a mom exhausted, complaining that they're just worn out. But I look around and I see all these capable, competent children that they have that they're not utilizing. And that doesn't mean you're using your children as slaves. You're literally abusing them by not allowing them to be capable adults, because when they're older, you're going to have these 40-year-olds that are living in your basement because they've never been taught this work ethic. So important to focus on those number one, number two workers.
This is a perfect opportunity for you guys to go deeper on this specific area, and I'll just set it up a little bit for you. Maybe it might trigger some more thoughts along these lines. And really, we didn't talk about this before the show, but this is a generation that we see that feel like they're entitled. And I like what the late Charlie Kirk said. He said, "We have produced a generation that knows how to protest, but not how to produce." They really know how to riot. They don't know how to protest, actually. They know how to critique, but they don't know how to create. And the church must raise young people who build things.
Sure.
But we're seeing a generation that thinks they're entitled. They're that number 4 guy. They're that number 4 worker.
Yeah.
Even that number 3. They somehow think, they're entitled.
Well, how many churches do a youth group activity and it's all about entertaining them? It's having a movie night. It's having dance time. It's go to the skating rink. There's nothing wrong with having fun, but what's wrong with teaching them, hey, for a youth group activity, let's go to our church's widow's house and mow her grass and clean up her yard. We have this mentality that making children do work is punishment. And I was realizing in my childhood that we got chores when we were being punished. We've got to rewire our brains so that we can rewire our children's and let them think, I'm going to reward you. You get to make dinner for the family. My 12-year-old makes all of the meals for our family, and she loves it. So much so and she's great at it. She can make a dinner for 40 people, just turned 12, and she does it, effortlessly. She'll look up the recipe. Of course, she doesn't drive, so she has to give us a food list or send one of her older brothers. But when she's got the ingredients and a kitchen, there's nothing she can't do.
And we're really programming our children, and I'll just go to say the generational sin, generational curses. Just take, for example, how we communicate to them. If your children know when you're serious by exactly what tone that you are speaking in, whether you're screaming or high pitched or whatever, or to what number you're going to count to where you actually mean it.
That's good.
And God speaks in a still small voice, and it needs to just be said one time in a still quiet voice, so that we can train our children how God speaks to us, because he's a gentleman. And I'll go into here. Subscribe to our newsletter on arrowsandacres.com to learn more. Subscribe to your favorite to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and get more of this.
For more encouraging messages like this.
Let's go into the reason of why we're doing this. Obviously, to have a work ethic. If you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't provide for your family, you've denied the faith. And work, worse than an infidel. Faith without works is dead. And I'll show you my faith by my works. I'm not, when the Bible says when somebody is in need, you don't say, well, good, okay, that's okay. Pray for you to be in need. When you have the means by which to give them meet that need, God's saying, meet the need. So it's I'll show you, my faith by my work. So the outgrowth of our faith is doing this work. And what does this work produce? It produced people that are not in bondage to sin, not in bondage in debt, because the borrower is slave to the lender. And we're teaching our children to producers, not takers, not to be entitled, but giving, to be in the asset column of society. And as we're doing this, they're being discipled by me. They're discipling other people. And when they're in the asset column of society as producers, using common sense to just navigate through life and understanding what it means to represent themselves in a competent way to the people in their culture. They're discipling them. So this is such a full circle, kingdom building discipleship scenario that we all get to experience in our family, and we can really focus on the details here, and as as the arrow in the hand of the mighty hunter, so as a child to hit the target, and we're sending them out to hit the target that God has for them. And by teaching them all these skills, the sky is the limit. And they're the saying that we say is that we've created and built our house and learned and made all the mistakes as a parent. And then instead of them having to figure it out all over again, their floor is our ceiling. They have all our life experiences, overcoming all these generational sins, these generational curses, and operating in a success story already at a very young age. Then they can go on and do much, much more, much greater things than I could ever do.
Yeah, and that's so good. The only thing I would add is just as parents, we need to have a game plan. We can't just go into this thing blindly, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You've got to have a game plan. When we get up in the morning, we typically will have a family meeting. We'll sit them down and let them know those expectations. Especially if you're a parent you're hearing this concept for the first time, you can't just expect your children to know what you want them to do. You've got to lay it out there, whether it's creating a chore chart that's going to actually work, inspiring them to do hard things, whatever it is, whatever changes you want to
And
make.
encouragement, and
Right.
having fun together, playing together, praying together, doing
Yeah.
church together, doing life together.
And having
All of these things are
influences,
so important.
that match your family values.
Community.
So important. One of our closest friends, the Allisons, daughters married, two of them. I remember my last thing I'll say, a story of their son Vision, who ended up marrying my daughter down the road. But he was driving from Pensacola back home, and he got about halfway home. He was probably 16, and his car broke down. His engine I think it just fell out. I don't know, something serious. It wasn't just
The burn up, the engine died.
yeah. And so he called us. He was 4 hours from us. And then he called home. He was probably 3 or 4 hours from them. And his dad said, "A good man's never stuck. Figure it out." And, most people, even me, was just kind of like, wow, that's a lot to ask a 16-year-old. But the end of the story is the best part. He did figure it out. He absolutely figured it out. He was trained as a young child to solve his problems. I can't exactly remember what he did, but whatever he did, he got back
Well,
on the road.
he had a phone, and he called, was it Isaac?
He called the guy that was driving a
Just-
rollback.
Just
Yes.
driving the rollback to come get him. So he just figured it out. He got a ride, got his car picked up, and he went and bought an engine.
And then he traded it out
Then
himself.
he put the whole engine in himself.
Yeah. But, having friends for your children that are doing things like that, it only inspired my boys. They're not going to call me up whining because they've watched their friend solve his problems. So
This has been a great episode. Unfortunately, we're out of time for the rest of this episode, but I want to close with a quote, and then just ask Daniel to pray for the listeners as people are just mulling this over and going, where do I begin? Where do I start? And so here's the quote, and then Daniel, if you'll close us in prayer. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
So let's be in the asset column of society and culture, and don't be discouraged by what we're saying. Be empowered. If what we're saying is in any way discouraging, you're not taking our heart, hearing our heart. We are first time in this. My father left when I was 6 years old, so I didn't have an example. My mother raised me. So, if you can just look at me and know where I've come from, God can do anything and do anything with you. Dear Lord, just we thank you for this time to talk about your ways and your kingdom. God, we just pray for your kingdom to come. God, we give you the praise in this. God, we give you the glory for this. God, we pray for each one that's hearing our voice, God, that they would just feel loved by you in a special way, God, that you are a good Father, that you give life, and that they can trust in you to meet every need, and that you are our confidence and nothing in ourselves. We can do to have anything of our own, God. Our confidence is in you. Our trust is in you, God. We give you the praise. We give you the glory in Jesus' name.
Every arrow takes aim, every acre takes work, every covenant kept when it hurts. Keep going, keep building, you're not on your